Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. If you're on replay, also welcome. So today we are going to be talking about like a couple of like beauty industry news, science news, kind of like talking more in depth about it. And I wanted to do it as like a live because I wanted to talk about these stories with you, but I also wanted to hear your opinion on it. And it's a little bit easier to do that in a live stream and kind of, talk more freely. Sometimes in the comments, the conversation doesn't go very far if like I respond to a comment, sometimes people won't see my response. So let's talk about the four stories we are going to talk about today. So first we're going to talk about the whole Jojo, Siwa, Asbestos, Claire's makeup controversy. We're going to talk about this company that is going to come out with what they call acid proof makeup, as well as a bill or a regulation that's trying to get passed, which is basically going to be like an overhaul of U.S. cosmetic regulations. If you're not aware, the cosmetic regulations haven't changed in a long time. I can't even tell you the exact number of years, but it's been so long, and the FDA doesn't really have a whole lot of power, so we're trying to put the power back into them. And as well as like one little last story is going to be about this men's makeup line that came out. And that one is just going to kind of be looking at it because it's supposed to be like for men. It's called like war paint, I think. And so we're just going to kind of talk about that. So while we're kind of waiting a couple more minutes, where's everybody from? Let me know down in the comments below, or let me know in the little like live chat so I can know where everybody's listening from. I'm in California, in Southern California. If you guys weren't aware, that is my home state, and it's kind of hot here too. Long Island, UK. That's fun. Very fun. Washington. I do like Washington. My mom's family's from there. Chicago, New Hampshire. All sorts of good places. Australia, North Carolina. See, I need to travel more because I haven't been to that many places. North Dakota. My friend actually lived in North Dakota for a while. She was on the Air Force base there. All right, so let us get in. First, we're going to talk about the Jojo Siwa controversy. So I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard, but they found asbestos. The FDA discovered asbestos in the Claire's makeup that had Jojo Siwa's name on it. And this is not the first time that Claire's has had this problem. Recently, I made a video about it, but recently Claire's had the same problem again where asbestos was found in their makeup. And actually, that was a little bit of a different story because the FDA asked Claire's to take this makeup off their shelves, and Claire's actually refused and said it was safe. So that's another thing, is the FDA doesn't have the power to actually force recalls on makeup. These cosmetic companies can only do voluntary recalls. So basically the way that it goes is first you kind of do like, you can have what's called a market withdrawal, and that's if, let's say, the company, it hasn't like been sold, but they have discovered it, like they can like pull it back. So Angel Palmer, scary when it's mainly for kids and teens. I think that is the worst part to me because obviously these are kids. They're going to be more susceptible to things. And I think it's really irresponsible of Claire's to not like look out for like the utmost safety, when a lot of parents, like that's kind of their like goal, is to like, have safe products in their kids. So yeah, so you can pull it. That's like a market withdrawal. A recall is when, like a voluntary recall would be as if, something was put out on there and they had to take it off the shelf because something was wrong. In this case, it's asbestos. A lot of times you'll see recalls for bacterial contamination. Benefit had this problem. So a voluntary one is when the company can recall it. Now, the FDA does have the power to recall pharmaceuticals, I believe also like food as well, as far as I know. The FDA can actually pull that and recall it, and the company will be charged for the recall. And a recall isn't just pulling on the shelves. It has to be made aware. So basically you have to go to like the media and say, hey, there's a recall, in order to make an actual recall. You can't just put something out on your site. You actually need to make a conscious effort to let people know. So yeah, so her makeup line had asbestos in it. And I think honestly, and in my opinion, so basically all that the FDA can really do if the company refuses to pull it is to issue what's called like an FDA warning. So that's pretty good. That pretty much gets people to be like, oh shoot, I'm not going to use this makeup anymore. And the reason why they're like the way that asbestos gets in these is because it's where the talc in the product is sourced. I didn't look at the ingredients, but I'm going to assume it was talc because that was the problem in the last one. These products contain talc, and if the talc isn't sourced correctly, it can be in the presence of asbestos, and this is a big problem. This is also probably why this makeup is so cheap. And we have to remember that Claire's is mainly like an accessory store, so they may be cutting corners in a lot of places, which is really terrifying. And most responsible places when they use talc, because talc is used all the time. There's even like talc safety committees. There's testing that can be done. I talked about this more in my one video, but there's X-ray diffraction. I can't remember but there's like 3 different methods for them to check for the presence of asbestos. And cosmetic grade talc test for these. This is like a common test, and I'm surprised that some place like Claire's is even like allowing this. But so what do you guys think about that? Does that kind of make you like, would you like, if you guys have kids, would you get Claire's makeup for your kids? I remember before we were seeing a lot of people were buying like kids makeup and were doing, you know, their makeup with the kids makeup. And it also kind of makes me wonder about other companies. Like I know a lot of these like clothing stores are trying to make like trendy like makeup. I think I have like a Polly Pocket palette right here, and it looks super cute. I haven't used it yet, but you know, it kind of makes me like wonder about stuff in here. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Jojo Siwa did put out a video telling people to return them. It's pretty short and to the point. Like for in this case with Jojo Siwa, she's not really like, she's just kind of, they just slapped her name on it. So I understand it's like not her fault, but it also, you know, you kind of got to be like, it is like, it's her responsibility now because her face is on it. But clearly they just them being business partners with Claire's was not like smart, especially after what just happened with the last time. I probably wouldn't partner with Claire's at all. Makes me wonder. Angel Palmer, I was always told asbestos was in old buildings. Only got wrong, I think. So the way that asbestos is, it's like a powder too. It's in a lot of old buildings. Like in California specifically, I'm probably like the building that I'm in too, because it's like an older building, is like in the building, but a lot of these have like paint over it. And the asbestos is really only harmful if like I break it open. So if you start like, so when they demolish old buildings, this is a problem because the root of exposure is inhalation. Like if I just like touch this wall, it's not a big deal. But if I start to tear it up and there's asbestos in there, that's a big problem. And so that's why asbestos used to be used. And then obviously they realized the danger. And then there is like a contamination issue where talc is mined as well. So that's why we worry about asbestos in makeup. But I wouldn't worry about, like, for instance, we know like with the, like people were kind of joking about like in the Jaclyn Hill lipsticks that there could be asbestos, but that's not really like a concern for something that doesn't contain talc. So something like I have, I think, let's see what I got here. Like this Riviera palette. Oh, I don't have the box for it. Maybe I have it on here. Let's see if there's talc in this one. So for instance, like this Anastasia Riviera palette I had, it doesn't have talc in it. So that's not really like a concern, like where the talc is like, that's not like a likely contamination to happen in other ingredients, if that makes sense. Angel Palmer, what about cheap face powders? Well, I think you have to think, this is when we have to think about who we are buying from. So for instance, I have this NYX product and it has talc in it, but NYX is owned by L'Oreal. L'Oreal is a big company. It is like detrimental for them if someone were to find asbestos in their makeup, if that makes sense. And these people are a lot more conscious, and they have like people who are like they're like, you know, their quality, their safety, who are looking at this kind of stuff to make sure that the talc that they are using is tested. So that's when we kind of have to look at like these bigger companies, and people don't like buying from bigger companies, but they do have the infrastructure to ensure safety in this way. Now, we just saw recently with like Johnson & Johnson, they actually, you know, we discovered that they knew that they had asbestos. I think that we discovered in like their talc powder, because I think that one lady got the same thing. Mel Collins, I hear less about asbestos as a kid, but more about lead paint and older health. That too, that's another thing. Asbestos, I think asbestos was mostly used for like insulation, so that's probably why you don't hear about it as much. But Yeah, I know, like, because I know we have like a little like thing in my lab at work, and it has. They said it could contain asbestos, so everyone was like freaking out. But if they're not breaking it apart, it's not like really a problem. The lead paint is more of a concern because you can't have direct access to that. Also, Brown Carlton and Marie, you guys said she adjusted properly. I think she did a good job too. I think it was very straightforward and to the point, and like you can't really say anything else. Like she can't say no, it doesn't have it because we've already tested that. Okay. But yeah, so like when you look at it, like so these big companies have the infrastructure. It's these like something like Claire's, which has like a one-off like eyeshadow palette or something. Like that's when we kind of like have to be concerned because they just don't have the infrastructure. And as we've seen, even with like these like lips, like these Jaclyn Hill lipsticks, she had like people advising her, like in her thing. I remember she said like, oh, they didn't do micro testing. Or they did micro testing on like an R&D batch. And I was like, well, that was like not a good idea because this whole thing could have gone away for Jaclyn Hill had she just tested everything for micro and been able to show. Like, obviously, there's other issues, but when people are worried about mold and stuff, if you have micro testing that shows there's not mold, you could pretty much make it all go away. Like, you can make that mold concern go away and people would be assured. Pretty Pastel, please, just released a video and she found a shard of metal in her lipstick. I saw that too. I was like, oh my God, there are so many things that are just coming out about this like lipstick that I'm so surprised. I actually got a refund on my lipstick. So I had emailed them. I had emailed the company and said, like I like want a refund. I'm not confident these are safe. And they had asked for a picture, but I think it's still pending because it's in my PayPal account and it's still like under the pending category. So I don't know like if that money is mine yet or if people are waiting. Did anybody else, try to get a refund? And then I also saw, I think oh my goodness, her name begins with a K, but she's that biochemist, and I saw her video too, and where she's gonna send it out. And I hope that she can I hope that they give her some good information. I hope that they are not like, I hope that I saw that the company is, like, apparently sending out these like threats to people who are testing it. But at this point, if they're sending it out to test, and they could claim that somebody like contaminated it, but if Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics isn't sending these out for tests and showing micro results, then these other people have to do it themselves. That's just how it is. Kenna Whitnells, yes, Kenna, that was her name. Yeah, I've been watching her videos lately too. She's very, very smart, and I hope she puts out more videos. Because I think if more information out there from her, especially because she's like a quality assurance manager, she makes her own products. Like she's like that girl, like knows her stuff too. Like, all right, so let's move on. We've talked about this for quite a bit. So now we're going to talk about this acid makeup, or not acid makeup, excuse me, acid proof makeup. So there's been a lot of, I know in the UK, I've seen a lot, I think in some Middle Eastern countries, legally they can stop anyone from testing because it's their property. Is that true though? Because what happens when you buy it though? So Emma, so let's talk about this really quick because this was a big thing. So the document she showed for good manufacturing said Jaclyn Cosmetics and was dated 2017. So I mentioned this on my Twitter, but I know not everybody follows me on Twitter. So at the bottom of that document, it said it was from an SOP. SOPs are companies' standard operating procedures. And that's just basically like where people describe like how they do things. So if like someone comes in for an audit and is like, oh, well, how do you guys take care of this? Well, this is how we take care of that. And that was actually, that to me looked like that was a form within that SOP. So by this being a form, so this is a form they would pull out of this SOP and then just fill it in with names and signatures and whatever. Now we don't know when it's signed because obviously the name was gone, but that 2017 at the bottom doesn't really worry me because it just says like revision date, and I don't think it's specific to her. I think that form was created within this SOP. So that's not really what I'm concerned about in that case. Ella Loves Tea just did an amazing video on the paperwork. I'll have to watch it because I haven't seen her video, but yeah, the paperwork was like a big thing. And oh, they can't stop people. Oh, okay. Yeah. I know what you mean. But yeah, so that's why that 2017 document really wasn't worrisome for me, because it looks like it's part of an SOP. As long as everything holds true, your SOP is going to be the same for like a while, until finally like you guys have to like, you know, redo it. Coffee before mascara. Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. And so, okay, so I wasn't going to really talk about the Jaclyn Hill stuff, but, you know, just since people were asking or had questions about it, I'll have to check out that Ella Loves Tea. But yeah, so the 2017 one doesn't worry me. I don't know if you guys saw the that little, see, it's like their certificate of analysis, and it shows all of their like testing that they did. So it basically looks like they did. Guys, I think my Amazon guy's here. Like, hold on. Let me see. I'm sorry about this, but I need to get my package. Nope, not on there. Okay, we'll see if they call me again. Okay, so anyway, and then the C of A. So it showed that they did appearance. It showed that they did a swatch test, which is also doubtful, because if you would have done the swatch, obviously a lot of people have those grains. And when they do these tests, guys, they shouldn't do it on one sample, especially for like these first batches. Like I've seen it where they'll do like 13 samples out of this batch, sometimes even more than that, but like minimum at least like, you know, 10 samples, and we'll swatch it. But there was no microbial testing whatsoever, which, you know, it just seems like such a thing. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't do micro testing, especially for these initial batches. You know, if over time they can show that these don't grow anything, they could do it. But I think the micro testing is super, super, super important. But if anything, and then it also showed the, you know how they said they had the production codes? That's not a thing. I've never heard of a place that does that. They have the batch code and they have a lot code. So the difference between a batch code and a lot code. So let's say like a batch code. The batch is going to be whatever they made in those vats that she has. So those vats are going to contain the batch. This batch is going to be whatever they mixed in there. Now, the lot code can be like when they basically when they filled these lipsticks. So for instance, like a bigger lipstick. So say I had like a full size, so full size lipstick, right? But then, but we still have some left. So I want to make a mini lipstick. This is going to have a different lot code than this one, but they will have the same batch code. So actually, on a lot of things, it'll be the lot code that's on there, because it's relevant to like everything. For instance, like this Dr. Jart thing has like a lot code. It has that's pretty much what it is. Like the batch code, yeah, the batch code's like correct, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a lot code that's put on there. And they showed that the lot codes and the batch codes were different than those production codes that they're putting on the bottom of the lipstick. So I don't know what to tell them. So, that's just separate. Okay, so acid proof makeup. So no one has, does anyone have any other questions about that? Or we can come back to it, but we're gonna move on for now. But I did want to kind of talk about some of those things. I know I talked about it on Twitter. So this acid proof makeup, let's see. Where are the codes shown? So it kind of depends. So like for instance, where's this one? So this one, you can't see it on here, but it's like within the like lipstick. It's kind of hard to see, but I think if a company saw it, like, so the lipstick, it's usually on like the bottom. For instance, like this one's on the bottom and it says 8F like 03. The back of this foundation says on the bottom, it says lot A18R03. My Cover FX, it says lot 8H11. So you're going to find it on, it should be on the actual packaging, or on the actual product, because obviously people throw away packaging. So they need to have it on the product in case you have like a problem with it, or you have like you need to do a customer complaint, because they need to know where the problem is. And you're not going to know where the problem is if all of them have the same code. It just does not work. Okay. Where'd it go? All right, where's this article so I could show you guys? I have like way too many tabs open. Does anybody else do that where they have like a bajillion tabs open? How much do I have? Good gracious. Okay, let me go check my email. So this acid proof makeup. So this lady actually came out with a it's like a makeup that is resistant to acid. And like there's a lot of people who get acid attacks and where like someone will come up to them and like I'm guessing either spray or splash an unknown chemical on them. And this is supposed to be she's a UK doctor, and it's supposed to resist acid attacks. So I'm going to assume it doesn't react with the acid. And it's supposed to be, so she said like her dad basically gave her like bicarbonate like solution and for her to carry when she was in London because he was worried that she was going to be attacked by like someone putting acid on her. That actually would not be that good because the bicarbonate's going to react. The bicarbonate neutralizes the acid. So when it's going to react, it's going to neutralize it, but there's going to be a reaction to neutralize it. You pretty much use bicarbonate. Like say I spilled acid on the floor, I would throw the bicarbonate on there to neutralize it and then clean it up. Which product? Savannah Ramsey. Oh, you mean the makeup? I think it's like a foundation, but I don't think they've come out with it. The doctor's name is Dr. Almas Ahmed. And so there was like an attack on a model and so it says, traditional makeup does not repel acid at all. Makes sense. With my makeup, you put it on as normal, but if someone throws acid on you, all you do is rinse it off. Your skin will be intact, even if your clothes might not be. And it also says she's going to employ people who are victims of acid attacks and give them employment. She wants to provide those opportunities, and it's going to be available in 2020, and it's first going to be launched in India and countries in the Middle East, where instances of acid attacks are more common. It will then be introduced in the UK, where the instances of such nature have seen a major spike. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I was kind of trying to think how is this going to work? And I'm not really sure like what it is that doesn't react with acid. I'm thinking it must be something thick. I think this is going to be a thick formula. And the way that and the thing that still kind of concerns me that it's not going to be able to do fully is maybe it'll like help your skin, but I still kind of worry about people's eyes because you can't like, unless you have glasses on, you're not going to really have your eyes protected. Wow, this makeup would make me paranoid to go out the door. How messed up is a society where acid attacks are so frequent? Acid-proof makeup has to be. I 100% agree. Like that is just so awful that people have to go out. And that's the thing is like for me, when I've had to deal with I understand like what it's like to be like, I've gotten acid on me, I've gotten other stuff on me, but like other people like don't really know like how to deal with it. Jasper Lines, this is a common problem. I've heard of acid attacks, but I didn't know it was a thing. There's been instances of it, but I mean, it's kind of like anything. We hear a lot of this stuff on the news, and people just get worried. Like you hear stuff that happens. Like obviously in the U.S. we have a lot of things, and people like, people just are trying to like make themselves safe. So that's kind of like something that people are concerned about. But honestly, there's a bunch of different types of acid. So like hydrofluoric acid is like really intense, but usually the first line of defense for getting like an unknown substance on you is to just like rinse it. Like you just rinse it off immediately. Like if I get acid on my hand at work, I go rinse it off immediately. And a lot of times these things aren't really like, it's really interesting because when I hear acid attack, I kind of wonder, and I see how these people, how their skin looks after. I wonder if they, I don't know, like if they're letting it sit there. I don't, because the first line of defense is like to rinse it off. Like obviously there's a public places, so maybe it's hard. But like if you get nitric acid on you, like it'll kind of turn your skin yellow. Like HCl kind of like it burns. It kind of almost makes you like itchy. Like it's an itchy feeling. Sulfuric acid, I've gotten it kind of like, I don't have a scar from it, but I've gotten it like on my leg before. Oh, thank you, Marie. I'm a character. Yeah, it's so easy to get a hold of the internet. And yeah, and that's kind of scary. But yeah, so for anybody who's out there, first line of defense, if someone splashes some unknown substance on you, rinse it for like 20 minutes. Like we have, like if you go into labs, they have like emergency showers and you're supposed to stand there and they cut off all your clothes. They have eye rinsing stations. So that's like the first thing to do. It's like, but like it can mess you up, but that's why I haven't really had like, I didn't really like knew like how intense it was because like the acid burns that I've got, but I know how to deal with acid burns. Like, everyday people don't know how, but basically Hatred can't be controlled by laws. That is very true. Hatred cannot be controlled by laws. But yeah, so basically this is going to be revealed. It said it got revealed on May 7th. I'm really curious to know like what's in it. I wouldn't have even thought to rinse it off. I would have just been having an anxiety attack. That's fair. That's totally fair. But you know, being aware is kind of the best line of defense, because like I said, the like you can have this makeup, but it's not going to save you. It basically is giving you enough time, and that's kind of what they say, to give you enough time to rinse it off and like hopefully help you. It's probably not going to be hydrofluoric acid. Hydrofluoric acid, rinsing it off doesn't really help. Hydrofluoric acid is really intense to a point where like I don't even like to work with it, because it'll actually go in and like start attacking your calcium, and that's like the first place that it attacks. So I thought that was a really interesting story. So we're gonna talk about that, like that men's makeup I told you guys about. Okay, so men's, what's it called? It's called war paint. So what do you guys think about this like men's makeup thing? I'm from Ireland and it's so common. People use it on people in cars. Yeah, that's like crazy to me. Niall read where he pours various acid on his hands to show the action of some. It sounds weird. Do you mean like what did you think it was surprising? Because like for me, like I've kind of like seen any acids worsen by water. Like hydrofluoric acid's gonna worsen by water, but honestly, that's like the least likely for someone to get a hold of. It's pretty intense, and it's kind of like not the easiest thing to get a hold of, even for like, you know, people in the industry. Makeup shouldn't be gendered, in my opinion. Like, why does it matter? I agree with that. That's why I thought this was so interesting to me. And to me, when I saw this, what's it called? This like men's makeup, I was kind of like, it seems like you guys are trying to get a really like cheap buy to get guys to buy makeup. Also, they have gas here in the approximately 8 years. Ooh, yeah, that sounds terrible. Oh, Chanel has a men's line too? I did not know that. So yeah, so this men's makeup line has concealer, bronzer, tinted moisturizer, and anti-shine powder. So like, let's look at the concealer really quick. Let's see what's in there. Does war paint ingredients have things for men's skin in it? Honestly, Jasper, it looks like all the other makeup I've seen. It doesn't. It's 18 pounds for concealer. It doesn't say how much is there, but it looks kind of like a tiny jar. Let's see. So basically, it wants them to like use it and like kind of like pat it under the eye. Oh goodness, come on. Yeah, I don't know if you guys could see that, but he's like basically like, you know, kind of patting it in there. Does anybody like have like, you know, does anybody know like, oh, come on. What is happening here? I know a couple of like, you know, like men who just want like they just want it to wear concealer. I don't really know why it's like a big deal for like men to wear like concealer. Like men don't want to like, you know, look like they have like dark under eyes or anything. Cheaper to give my man elf concealer. That is true. The glorification of war isn't cute. Yeah, it seems like they're trying to play off that like hyper masculinism, huh? I'm not attracted to men who wear makeup. That's fine. You don't have to be attracted to men who wear makeup. All right. So one of the first ingredient in the concealer is paraffin liquidum. So it looks like it's like kind of seems like paraffin. Like paraffin is kind of like a wax. I'm wondering if this is like more of like a liquidy version. And then aluminum starch, octanyl succinate, and acrylates copolymer. So that we've talked about this acrylates copolymer. It's basically like a film former, and I think this is to make it long wearing. Probably because, you know, if you're not used to wearing makeup, you want it to like last long. It looks like there's like a lot of wax in here. It looks like there's like a lot of, that seems like interesting to me. So it looks like, yeah, it just looks like it's a bunch of wax, like in color in a concealer. I guess that seems very weird. How much is this makeup? So this concealer is 18 pounds. I'm not sure what that translate, or it says 1434. 1434 for the concealer. Hunter's camo paint. That's true. Hunters do wear the camo paint. But yeah, so I thought that was interesting. But like nothing really exciting in there. It just seems like a really waxy product. So I don't think that would be enjoyable. Tinted moisturizer, I think that one, that sounds like a promising product. So it says that one's 22 pounds. I feel like it would have been better for these companies to adjust their marketing of the existing products to be more inclusive. I agree too. I wonder, because it seems like, is it the formula different? Well, like what I'm seeing for a lot of these, I'm trying to pull up the tinted moisture formula because I looked at it earlier, but nothing in it seems to really be like special. It seems to just be like they're trying to market it towards like these like really masculine men. And okay, so for instance, so this tinted moisturizer, so the first ingredient is water. The second ingredient is cyclopentasiloxane. And I've talked about this. If you guys have watched any of my other like foundation videos or things like that, or like concealer, cyclopentasiloxane is like a silicone, but it's very volatile. And volatile means it evaporates very quickly. So this is used in a lot of like foundations because it allows you to spread it easily because of the silicone, but it's going to evaporate. So that way it kind of helps it dry down. It doesn't look like you just like have like a bunch of like you don't look greasy basically. And propylene glycol, so that's going to be the moisturizing ingredient. Propylene glycol I don't see really used as much in a lot of cosmetics. Usually I see like glycerin or butylene glycol. Propylene glycol not so much. And they have dimethicone in here. So the dimethicone, there's a couple of dimethicone ingredients in here. So those are going to also help with the spreadability. Maybe it makes it look like a little bit more matte. And McCarrick, I was thinking maybe it would be good at covering facial hair or something like that. I'm not sure if this would be because it doesn't really look. It says it's like, so they're basically trying to say this is thinner, but I don't know about it in relation to hair. That would be interesting to look at. But yeah, it just seems like really interesting. Okay, anti-shine powder. I bet this is going to be like talc, and that's probably about like not much of it. What? They don't share the ingredients on it? Why are you trying to hide the ingredients to the powder? What's wrong with the powder? All right, let's see if they show us anything in the bronzer. All right, in the bronzer, it's talc, very common. Mica, also very common. Zinc stearate, that's kind of like, it kind of helps bind everything together. Paraffin liquidum, and a lot of colorants. And it's interesting because they put methylparaben in here as a preservative, but they didn't put it in the other formulas. So if they're not opposed to parabens, I'm kind of curious why that's interesting. Good old talc. Talc's really not that bad, but yeah, like I said, it has to be sourced correctly. Obviously, Claire's isn't sourcing it correctly, but a lot of these other places do. So it's kind of sad that it does get like a bad rap. Is all talc bad? No, not all talc is bad. Talc, there's even like a talc safety committee. There's like a whole group of people, but I think it is important. And I think there should be some sort of, so for pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical ingredients, they have this thing called the USP, and it has a list of testing that needs to be performed in order for it to be USP grade, and therefore is like used in pharmaceuticals, and like the FDA and whoever will be like, well, why aren't you doing this test for the USP if you don't do it? And I think something like that needs to be done for these very, very common ingredients. So for instance, like glycerin. So glycerin can have these contaminants, diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. Now, per the USP, these have to be tested. This is part of the testing. It's important to know this because these things are harmful. And this is important because people will say, oh, the glycerin's bad because it can have these things in it. But we test for these things. So we know if it has it in there and if it doesn't have it in there. Seems pretty generic. Yes, this makeup seems very, very generic. If my boyfriend was like, hey, I want to try out some makeup, I would go and get him some like much better makeup than this. This seems like it costs a lot for like what it is. So I don't see anybody, jumping and thinking that this is going to be like the best thing ever. All right, so let's look at this this article that I found. It's on chemicalwatch.com. Mel Collins overpriced elf. Yes, that sounds about right. I actually really want to look into that new e.l.f. skincare. Has anybody tried that e.l.f. skincare lately? I think it's for lads who don't want to buy girls' makeup. I think that's who it's marketed for, but like, you know, it's not really like that big of a deal. What? Why can't I find this? Okay. Okay, so now we're going to look at this article. It says Congress revisits legislation to overhaul U.S. cosmetic rules. And these bills are kind of looking to increase the FDA's authority, especially with this kind of stuff that's coming out. And a lot of like personal care or like clean beauty products have been having preservative issues lately. So that's a problem. So 80 years. So the regulations for cosmetics have not been updated in 80 years within the U.S. So what these things call for, let's see if there's like a point. Where's the list of things? So it says, required span. So basically part of this, I tried the e.l.f. skincare and the cleanser is actually really good. I like that it doesn't leave my skin dry. That's why I really like the Purity cleanser by Philosophy, because it doesn't leave my skin dry. And that was a big thing I used to do way back in the day. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's like that Neutrogena acne, the acne wash. And when I was a teenager and like in college, I used to use that all the time because I thought that was going to solve all my problems, and it did nothing. It probably just made it worse. So they're looking to try to give the FDA more authority in which they can do recalls themselves. And I think that's actually okay. I think that's fine, because then the FDA can, you know, step in when these companies who are like sketchy or doing things, you know. Oh man, this is my second cup of coffee today. And it says review the safety of at least 5 cosmetic ingredients a year. And I think that part, like that's good. I don't know how much good it's going to do, because we have so much information on the safety of a lot of these ingredients. So it would have to be very specific ingredients. There's this board, it's called the CIR. It's called the Cosmetic Ingredient Review. And that one is very, very, like, they go in, there's toxicologists that like, and these toxicologists, this is what they dedicate their life to, is the safety of things and how much it takes. So they usually review it, but I guess, you know, we can add in there. What was it called? So it's by the brand, this face wash I love is by the brand Philosophy, and it's called Purity. I actually get like the big jug of it. I don't know if you guys, Purity Made Simple. Yes. And I get the big jug of it. And it lasts me a long time. Like me and my boyfriend both use it morning and night, and it lasts us like 6 months at a time for that big bottle. And that's why it has having a 20% off sale. I know what I'm buying. Me too, big jug. Yeah, if I could buy big things, I really like the Belief Aqua Bomb, and I ended up buying the jumbo of it when it was 20% off. Because I really love moisturizers. Anything I could buy jumbo, I'd like be happy. Like if we could have, so this is my dream, is that we could have the beauty equivalent to like Costco. Not like Costco where they sell some stuff, because some of that stuff I'm not sure how they source it. But like the beauty version of Costco would be amazing. QVC is usually the cheapest of purity cleanser. I guess I just don't really look at QVC. That's a good spot to look. I'm always terrified to try new skincare because most of the cleansers I've tried make my skin seem turn bright red. That's so sad. But yes, doesn't that sound like heaven? You could get like foundation there. You could buy like the multi-pack of concealers. Like this just sounds like a good idea to me. You could buy like a whole bunch of eyeshadow brushes, because I know that I have like 50 million eyeshadow brushes, and somehow they all get dirty after like one day. So if anybody, decides that somebody has like, some extra money laying around and would like to fulfill my dream, that's my dream, is Beauty Costco. Beauty Costco. Natalia, I've tried. I loved my CeraVe. I actually got their moisturizer, and I've been really, really liking it. Give me a membership now. Yes. Yes. All right, let's get back on track, people. But yes, keep that in mind. Keep Beauty Costco in mind. So basically, it says on March 12th, the subcommittee of the House of Representatives held a hearing on the public health risks of carcinogens in consumer products. It examined both the scientific evidence of health risk from long-term use and products containing talc, as well as federal regulatory framework over consumer products. And then it talks about EWG, that's the Environmental Working Group. If you listen to a lot of scientists, they don't really approve of EWG. The way that they assess things is very like either it's like good, or if there was any like one study that showed it's bad, they kind of already mark it as bad in their numbering system. They have like a numbering system on if it's bad or not. And that's kind of hard because a lot of times like the dose makes the poison. For instance, like preservatives, you have at very, very low levels, but they do the job at low levels, and they're not going to hurt. They're never going to be high enough to where you're going to see problems, but that's how they operate. And then, okay, and this is another thing where this EWG guy says the FDA has only regulated 9 ingredients for safety reasons, while dozens of countries have already taken steps to ban or restrict more than 1,400 chemicals or contaminants in personal care products. So this is interesting because even there was a podcast I listened to where someone from Europe and works in, like regulation in Europe for cosmetics, like regulatory things, and even said, a lot of the ingredients that are banned, let's say by the EU, aren't actually really used in cosmetics. So while the US does have like a long way to go and does need to update things, it's important to not focus on that 1,400 number, because 1,400, like most of the stuff isn't even used in makeup to begin with or in cosmetics to begin with. So that's why it's important. Okay. So yeah, so I think it's important clearly now, and now I think it's important too that these facilities get audited. Oh, that was another thing about the Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics thing, is they said that this was like an OTC, like this facility can make OTC products. And I really question that, because the FDA will like go and check out OTC facilities. So for them to use like towels and white gloves, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, no, I've never seen any place that uses like white gloves ever. Ever. All right, so I also wanted to ask you guys, so this is what my next video is going to be. And I'm going to film that either today or tomorrow, but I wanted to put out a live stream because I hadn't been on in a while. I actually found out I had some like medical problems that aren't life-threatening at the moment, but I need to deal with them. And so I was dealing with like doctors and stuff, so that was fun. But that's why I wanted to put out this live stream, so I could talk to you guys and just kind of do like, chit chat. And then that way I can put out a video that I kind of have time to film and I can edit. And I'm trying to get it out before this weekend because I am busy on Saturday. I have a wedding to go to. And so I'm going to try to get it out by Saturday because I won't have time on Saturday or Sunday to do that. And what are some new products that you guys have been thinking of? Everything she does is a disaster and has problems. That's exactly what it seems like. Jazzy Fizzle. There are a lot of disasters. Yeah, this whole thing is like, with this whole fibrous thing, I'm just like, oh man. Like, there's just so many problems with it. And like, when I made my initial video, I thought it was just the melting. And then when everything else came out, I was like, whoa there's just too much going on. Like, I just have it sitting here. The microbiologist that I work with told me if something grows out of it to bring it to them, but no growth in mine so far. Okay, so what are some like products or like products you guys have been wanting to like, like know more about, or like ingredients specifically that you guys, wanted more information about? I'm kind of trying to figure out like what to make videos on. I'm going to make one on this, like, it's about a sheet mask, but it's different. And then I was going to actually do one on like alcohol in makeup and skincare, so that way I could talk to you guys about that. I'm going to do one on my favorite foundation, so you guys can like learn why I like it so much. Yeah, I've never heard of that glove. Like, I've never heard of cotton gloves. Like, I don't know who uses cotton gloves. And yeah, and it was weird because they said, so in there, I don't know if you guys saw, but in their safety assessment that they did, it said, like, someone had posted on my Twitter. If you guys follow me, my Twitter is just Angie_Bergs. on Twitter, and I had a thread where people shared the documents, and these documents said they said that they don't need to do micro testing because their product is anhydrous. Anhydrous means it's without water. But if you look on the ingredients list, it has water in it. From everybody that I've talked to, because obviously I don't have like a big micro background, but I know a lot of microbiologists. And they're like, yeah, you should probably still do it anyway, just to be certain. What are potential safety issues with chemical sunscreens? I actually wanted to do one about that absorption thing that we saw. Chemical sunscreens. Top 10 what to avoid. Well, see, this is a problem with this, like a top 10 of like what ingredients to avoid, because what a lot of other people would think to avoid is necessarily what I would avoid, and what I would avoid is for different, like, for instance, so for me, like I won't use phenol in products. They don't have it anymore, but phenol used to be in Noxzema because it gave you like a numbing feeling. It's used in like things to numb you, but in high concentrations it can burn you. So for instance, like I have to work around this stuff a lot of times, so I won't use something that contains like, or even like toluene. Toluene's another one. Like that's not one I would use a lot of time, but I'm exposed to it a lot more than other people. People with sensitive skin. Sensitive skin. Should avoid. You'd be interested in what I avoid. I could definitely do that. I have to think of a list because like right now I can only think of 2 off the top of my head. Makeup can sometimes irritate me. I know why. You don't know. Interesting. I always see things with retinol. I never understand what it does or why. Dr. Dre's. You know, I actually started watching Dr. Dre's because a lot of people on here suggested to go watch her. So I have been watching over. I know Dr. Dre is pretty much pro like moisturizer, right? Like I feel like hers was like very basic, like this is all you need, and I'm like, great, because that's what I do. Hair products, I see so much about makeup but nothing about hair products. So I definitely want to look into hair products. One company reached out to me, but I ended up not wanting to try out their products because they said they were chemical free, and chemical free is not a thing. So I didn't want to review that. I saw on the news chemical, none of the ingredients in the chemical sunscreens is FDA review. Not FDA approved, because things like, okay, so the thing about like sunscreens is sunscreens are regulated by the FDA in that they are considered drugs. So any of the stuff that you guys see, I don't know, I was like, unless I'm like getting like misinformation, but those are regulated by the FDA because those are considered a drug because they're protecting you. So I guess it depends on what you guys are thinking is a chemical sunscreen, but for the most part, anything that has like a percentage listed on it are like drug facts. Like that's going to be like, the FDA has like regulation that. So Dr. Dre is very like sunscreen oriented. That makes sense. I mean, it's good to protect your skin. Pro sunscreen, and subscribe. Yeah, I've actually been trying to find a new sunscreen. I think I'm gonna get I want to get this one by Clinique and another one by Neutrogena, and just kind of see like what the differences are, because I have to get sunscreen because I'm trying out a lot of different moisturizers, but a lot of these moisturizers I'm trying out don't have sunscreen in them, and I have to wear sunscreen. You always use sunscreen with antioxidants. I mean, it's not gonna like hurt you, but I mean, it's gonna be like good for you to have stuff with antioxidants, but FDA news show. Let's see. Will this like click out if I click it? Open a new tab. Okay, let's see this one. FDA advances new proposed regulation to make sure sunscreens are safe and effective. U.S. proposed rule that would. Oh, okay. So this says it's bringing non-prescription over-the-counter sunscreens that are marketed without FDA approval applications up to date. The latest science. Broad spectrums. Critical. Let's see. Pros at 16 with current zinc or grease for use in something. Okay, so 2 ingredients. So it says PABA and trolamine salicylate are not generally recognized as safe for use. So that's something else. There are 12 ingredients, but the ones, okay, general sprays, lotion. Where does it say? Over the counter. I'm trying to find the part where it says. Vitamin C says she refused to put on. Yeah, so vitamin C on its own, which is ascorbic acid, is very, very unstable. And a lot of times you'll see it as like a salt, which makes it less effective. But yeah, it's just not, it's not as stable. And the problem is a lot of these like vitamin C products are like very expensive. Does that mean with makeup with SPF needs to be FDA approved? So that ingredient needs to be, so they have like regulations where this ingredient can be like from this concentration to this concentration. So you have to like be within that percentage. So they can't, and they have to do SPF testing. So that's what it means by that, is you have to do SPF testing. And you can't market something like, for instance, people are trying to say that like, I don't know, like some sort of oil has an SPF to it. And they can maybe show that it has SPF 3, but the FDA has not recognized that as a legit sunscreen, as like a drug. So you can't put it on there. Just like somebody can't put an acne medication. Like you could put salicylic acid, you could put benzoyl peroxide, because those have both been proven and accepted by the FDA to help acne. You can put that as helping acne, but you can't put something else on there and say this helps acne, because that would make it a drug. Not only that, if you end up using it for dark spots. Yeah, so I like, personally for me, I use a lot of moisturizers. I don't really use like a lot of, you know, like other stuff. I kind of was, but it wasn't doing enough to where I was like, ew. You could also do a difference, high-end skincare versus drugstore based on ingredients. That's true. That would be a good one. Drugstore versus. Yeah, so this FDA one, the ingredients that I saw mentioned on there wasn't really, those aren't the ones that are like the problem. 16. Marketed at. So I'll have to see, but yeah, all these other stuff, they have like regulations and have like known it's effective. Maybe they're trying to like re-evaluate it because some of this other stuff is coming out, but Advisory Co. Yeah, because I'm kind of surprised because that one, it doesn't mention. Huh. What's that? Yeah, I'm gonna have to look more into the sunscreen thing because this is interesting to me. Because yeah, basically you can't put it on like a drug fact if it hasn't been regulated or hasn't been approved by the FDA. It's 1 a.m. here in Ireland, but I don't want to leave the screen. But thank you for sharing those. Thank you, Charmin, for sharing those articles, because I have to. Also, okay, so also generally recognized as, okay, so generally recognized as safe. Okay, oh, let me read this. Okay, so generally recognized as safe is basically saying that if something is generally recognized as safe, it doesn't need the FDA's approval, if that makes sense, because we've already like used them so long and it's not a big deal. Including body washes, well, that's not generally, yeah. See, I don't know what this PABA is, because the only other ones that I see are like octinoxate, but they don't even mention that one, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read into this because that's surprising to me. Well, okay, guys. Well, we've been on here for like almost an hour now, so I think I'm gonna, does that mean that makeup? Okay, I think that's it. Anybody, any other questions? Because it's getting, it's been about an hour, so I think you guys are probably, I've been chit chatting a long time. But yeah, make sure you guys like in my videos, or you can leave them on like Instagram or like Twitter. Just, you guys can feel free to ask me questions there, or give me video ideas or like products you guys want to see. Because I have like ideas, and like I do want to now share more products that I really like, because I want you guys to like see it. I hear titanium dioxide sunscreens are safe. Steve, I'm not sure how true that is. Never seen a facial sunscreen that uses it. I think that's a lot of it, is that people just don't really like the texture of it, but there's some sunscreen ingredient that's approved for other countries, but not in USA. Yeah, that's common. That's common too, Charmin, is that like a lot of places will. It's because it's how it's regulated here that it is a drug. So you have to like prove how effective it is as well as the safety. And that can also be kind of expensive too. So in another country, it might be easier to, get it approved. But like here, for instance, it can be expensive. So that's why people don't want to pay for all that. Is that the one? That's probably the PBA one, right? Yeah. Yeah, because I've never seen that. The ones I see a lot are the octinoxate. Which other ones do we got here? I got a bunch of stuff here. This is like a Pure Lease one. Pure Lease is a good brand I like. Avobenzone, homosalate, oxybenzone, octosalate. Lots of different ones. Okay, guys. All right, so we're going to head out now. I hope you guys have a good day. I will try to get a video on you. Long-term effects of skin. Yes. All right. So I hope you guys enjoy your Wednesday. We're halfway there. If you are in the U.S., have a good day. And I know you in Ireland, have a good evening. And I will see you guys soon. Bye, guys.